Bleach 1000-Year Blood War episode 9 titled The Drop. And this was a very good and well-paced episode because we all knew, if you're a manga reader, you know, we were eventually building up to the Kenpachi and Unohana fight and their stories and everything revolving around the name of Kenpachi and his development, essentially. And I really liked how they paced this one because I was really interested because the last episode, they cut out a lot of stuff, mainly in terms of the comedy, the lightheartedness. They wanted to cut some of that out to keep that sense of despair, the sense of urgency to fight back against the Quincy's, and I will appreciate that. I'm glad that they did something like that because the moments that were taken out weren't exactly important. They were more so to lighten the mood in the manga. For example, like Cone's like ultimate bodybuilder form, buff Cone with Rukia Peach thing. I know a lot of people were pretty upset by that, understandable to say the least. For the most part, last week's episode was really well paced, and the end did cut off a little abrupt, but I really enjoyed it. But this is the one I was really anticipating because of Unohana and Kenpachi. The reveal that Unohana is the first Kenpachi was done really well. Even the panels that they're adapting, the one where they first revealed she's the first Kenpachi, done amazing. The shading on half of her face as if she's getting ready to reveal the other side of her that is never left but still there. That savage, the ruthlessness, the notorious criminal that Yamamoto brung to the strongest Gotai 13 group is she was slowly getting ready to come out to help Kenpachi Zaraki. And one of my favorite dialogues, I would say, going into this was them explaining Zaraki's kendo. And I always just thought it was so cool and dope, the line of what they gave him one day with Yamamoto teaching him kendo, which is when you use two hands on the sword, and they already cut it off immediately because if he kept learning kendo, he was going to be way too strong for them to ever stop. Because you gotta remember, Kenpachi and Squad 11, they're more so like rogue criminals that work with the Gotai and the whole Soul Society. They don't really have a structure. Their only somewhat structure is strength, killing, that type of stuff. And if there was ever a moment, because they have kind of the more leniency to just say, let's just go against these guys, let's just fight them or whatever. For whatever reason, they would have a hard time stopping them. And Kenpachi, we already seen him when he had 1 day's worth of kendo. He took down Neutra, the number 5 Espada, with, I wouldn't say relative ease, but he sliced through him a lot quicker than he did while he had one hand. Flipping back over to the other half before we get into the rest of what I thought of Kenpachi and Unohana, the Ichigo and Kirinji healing up and training. We got Tenjiro, he had them in the bath and they were healing them. And one of the cool things was Ichigo when he reflexively just punched and fractured Tenjiro's hand. That was a really cool spot in the manga, and it just shows Ichigo is a fighter. It's a lot of instinct with him. Gotta remember why Ichigo was talking about him, and when it came to the king and the horse and the instincts, I always thought about that whenever Ichigo kind of did that to Tenjiro. But with this episode, we mainly focus on Kirio and the eating. And basically she's the one that created kind of like the soul candies and the whole modification of certain souls. She pretty much was the founder of creating that, so to speak, without revealing too much. And this one, a lot of people, including myself, really enjoyed this part. I gotta say, Perry did that thing, and in terms of, revealing her transformation, can't really say much wrong or, too much about it. It looked nice, we'll say that. But after this, they are going to Oetsu. He's the creator of the Zanpakuto. And I will say this is one of my favorites in terms of all the characters in the Squad Zero because of the development and what the type of training that Ichigo and Renji are going to be partaking in. It's going to be the most impactful, I would say, in terms of the later arc and what's going to happen, like the later seasons and parts of 1000-Year Blood War. This is going to be the most important out of all of them that they've pretty much visited. So be on the lookout for that episode. That's going to be really interesting. Now, the rest of Unohana versus Kenpachi, the first part, this actually looked really good because of the lighting. The lighting, even though it is pretty darker than I thought, which reading in the manga, I guess we should have expected kind of like a darker lighting. But this still kind of matched the vibe and the tone of what this is. This is I guess you can, in a way, kind of like a ritual, because the whole point of this is to build up Kenpachi in strength. And basically the reason he's doing this is because even though Shunsui told the higher ups in Soul Society, whatever, that he's going to be learning Zanjitsu or whatever, what he's doing right now is going to be a lot more taxing in terms of mentally and kind of changing that. But this is going to be Kenpachi's biggest power up in the series. This is going to change him in terms of strength a lot, and the mentality too, because we all know Kenpachi, when it comes to fighting, he likes the thrill of the fight. He doesn't want to end things quickly, because when he does, he's just not interested whatsoever. But he likes strong opponents because we can have those bloody brawls, those battles that we can just be entranced in the fight. That's the thing he's into, but he's also handicapping himself because he's only using one hand against an opponent. He doesn't even have his Zanpakuto really unlocked yet. It's a lot in hindering Kenpachi, but yet he's still one of the strongest in the series, especially in the Soul Society. So this is what this whole thing is for. And the clash, the lighting on Unohana's face, the iconic panel of when she turns her face and she's looking at Kenpachi when they first enter that basement, beautiful. It was perfect because it had that dark lighting. She looks, the way Unohana looks when she transforms, in terms of like her face and her mentality, she looks, in my opinion, always kind of viewed it as like malicious, but like she's still like kind of, in a way, beautiful at the same time, I would say, because her voice is still soft. I was wondering if the voice actor was kind of gonna change her voice a little bit, not too much, but kind of like show that there's a switch that's flipped in her voice to kind of make her come off a little bit more menacing. But that really wasn't needed. She kind of kept her voice relatively the same. It was just a little bit more on the assertive in terms of the direction of how she was kind of talking to Kenpachi, which worked. But the fight in general so far looks great. I know next episode, which is probably gonna be the end of it, I think. I'm not really sure. It's been a minute since I read the entire fight through, but there's the blood all over the place that we have right now. The fact that she actually technically killed Kenpachi on the first couple minutes that they were sparring says a lot. That says how strong Unohana is. The fact that she took Kenpachi and pretty much killed him within a couple of minutes, and he couldn't really do much about it. Or more so, he didn't know how to respond in that moment, because he also admires Unohana. She, without revealing too much, basically he looks up to Unohana because he knows what she's actually capable of, and hence why that scar on his mark, or the scar on his face, the scar on her, there's a lot of history between them, but he just respects her strength and her just savage nature in battle. Nonetheless, episode, like I said, they just haven't missed so far. And the next episode probably might get a lot of trending. It's gonna get a lot of people talking, because this has potential to be one of the best episodes of this season. I think it might be up there with everything with Yamamoto and Yawak. I think that's where this is going to rank. I have no doubt that Period is going to be doing they're going to go above and beyond for this one. Oh man, I really can't wait. Of course, music was fantastic in this episode in terms of all that, but regardless, Kenpachi Unohana, it's time to get real bloody. It's going to be real. It's going to get crazy next week, man. But nonetheless, hope you enjoyed this little video discussion and my thoughts on how I liked this recent episode of Bleach 1000 Year Blood War, episode 9. Leave a like and also comment down below how you felt about it yourself. I'll holler at y'all in the next one. Peace.